What's cool about Zapier is you only set it up once. You don't have to do this every time. It's just a one-time kind of thing that once you set it up, move on to other stuff. These days, tools should have a Zapier integration. If they don't, it's a big red flag, and I would stay away from those. They're running in Google Sheets. It does work. We want to scale one of the law firms to 3 different lead Google Sheets, and we want to get up to 460 clients per month. Give that data. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to test, and you will see magic. Bam. You're able to test, and you see that this data came in.
Welcome to my legal academy, helping lawyers work smart, scale fast, and enjoy life.
So the first use case of Zapier, and by far the most important, by far, is when a new lead comes in. Things have to be automatically be done in order to increase our chance to actually get in contact with the lead and get them either scheduled for a call or get them on a call to get them signed up right away. This is a must. If there's 2 law firms, one has automation set up that's able to quickly do this, whereas there's another law firm that has the automations, over time, the law firm that has the automation set up is going to win, and it's going to take over the market, and it will be you'll be left in the dust. So this is a must, especially with where we are right now. This is a must. Please do yourself a favor, because I know most of the smaller law firms will set up these things up, and they will pretty much eat up all the law firms that don't have these set up. Okay, so that's the first one. Well, when a new lead comes in, we want these to happen, or 4 things. One is we want to make sure that it's added to your CRM. Everybody needs to have a CRM. We could maybe get into a discussion about which CRM a little bit later, but it's a must. It needs to be added to your CRM. Second, they need to receive automated texts. Nobody likes picking up the phone. Your prospects don't like picking up the phone. How do I know this? Because I'm generating 20,000 to 25,000 leads a month, and there's a huge issue. And we realize this is a must. You need to automatically text the lead as soon as they come in. It's a must. If you're in right now, generating leads, you're not texting them, I'm sorry, you're leaving a lot of money on the table. And again, it's very important to be able to set these things up early, because your competitors are. Also, very important is to send automated drip emails. We know about this. We heard about this for many times, but still a lot of people don't have these set up. And each of these, the texting and the drip emails and the other stuff that could be done, each of these, imagine add like a 10 to 15% conversion rate to your numbers. So if you add text, it's like 15%. Emails, 10%. This, another 10%. When you do that, you're able to literally increase your revenue by 40, 50%. Sometimes even double, minimum at least 10, 15%. So these are all, again, lead to your conversions, and it's, again, must these days. And the last thing a lot of people don't do is you need to notify your team members, your intakers. Hey, the lead came in. Time is money. You need to contact this lead within a minute. Not even within 5 minutes anymore, within a minute. Okay, so let's go to the playbook. All right, so triggers. What are different triggers? Again, a lot of thought to put into this to figure out what are the different triggers for us. Okay, well, one of them, what's cool about this playbook for our members is our members get access to this document. They make a copy. They build the automation that they need for the law firm. And then not only can you set it up, but also we have a lead automation expert that can come set up these things for us and it kind of get it done for you. But let's go through it. I just want to show how it's done. Again, the first trigger, and again, if this is relevant for you, if you have new meetings booked, okay, go ahead and write in your notes. Whenever a new meeting is booked via you put your scheduling software, so that could be either the Calendly, I could scheduling, Clio Grow, whatever you use for scheduling. That's the first trigger. Second is if you get calls from your phone answering service, such as, you get calls from OpenPhone or Ring Central or any phone service. The third way a lead could come in is if your new lead comes from your funnel, ClickFunnels, Unbounce. Also, there's a tool called Intaker, which is kind of a little chat for your website. So if you have one of those, then you want to write that down. If a new lead comes from this specific landing page in my ClickFunnels account, or you may get leads via email. New leads emailed from, let's just say, Lex Reception or Smith AI, or from this pay-per-lead source. I think that could be very universal for a lot of us. You get emails from a very specific source. Well, that could be used as a trigger. Every time a lead comes in from the specific email address, I want you to go. We'll get into the action in a little bit. So for now, again, if that's applicable for you, say new leads are emailed to me from the specific email addresses, or you have a contact form on your website. I think hopefully, all of us should, on your contact us page. Or if you're running Facebook ads, Facebook lead form ads. If you're running TikTok ads, then TikTok lead form leads. Write down all your leads sources. If you're right now, as I'm sharing this, you're like, I'm looking at this, I don't have lead sources. Well, that's another conversation. We need to get you a couple of lead sources. This is important. You need to have multiple lead sources, ideally, so you're not going to diversify. What we do inside of our program is I get everybody focused on just one to start, the one that's the easiest to set up, the ones that's most scalable and most reliable. That's set up. Once we set that up, it's tracked, it's scalable, then we want to go focus on a second and third one. But today we're not really focused on client lead generation. We're just focusing on the automation side of things. But for now, all you have to do is just write down what is going to be your trigger for new leads. It's probably going to be one of these. Okay. Now let's get to the action. As I'm sharing these, you want to say, this is relevant for me. This is what I want it to be done. Number one is add lead to my CRM. Right? What CRM? Add lead to my Clio, add lead to my Google Sheet, add lead to Lawmatics, HubSpot, whatever that is. If you don't have a CRM, minimum Google Sheet. That's what I got started off with. Still, a lot of my stuff runs in Google Sheets. These are all lead sheets. They're running in Google Sheets. It does work. We want to scale one of the law firms to 3 different lead Google Sheets, and we want to get up to 460 clients per month with just Google Sheets. So we do know it is possible. Probably could be better if you put it into HubSpot or something else. But yeah, it is at least, should have as a backup. Second is sending automated text to the lead. Easy win. If you don't have this one set up, this could be done with OpenPhone. So we may need to sign up for an OpenPhone account today. Just for now, just write send automated text. Or if you already have a phone service, I'll show you how to check if it has a Zapier integration. RingCentral has it. If you want to bring up what phone service you use, I'll be able to kind of check for you and actually give you an optimized text to use. I have a whole Google Sheet, almost, I believe, 15 pages of different text that could be used. I kind of simplified it for you, and I'm just sharing with you this is probably the best one. Hi, first name, this is Sam from Mollei Law. When is a good time for us to talk about blank? Okay, just by sampling this text, you'll be able to increase your revenue probably about 15 to 20%. Also, what we want to do is, again, for now, I don't want to dive into it now. I just want to start off with macro, and then I'll get into the actual, getting granular inside of Zapier. Third thing we want to do is to send automated emails, ideally with some kind of email service like ActiveCampaign, Lawmatics, MailChimp. It doesn't matter which one, as long as one is set up. Or simply, you can actually use Gmail. Have a Gmail account. It's not a drip emails. It's only one email. Potentially, set up multiple emails with Zapier. But ideally, something like a ActiveCampaign. Again, these are all things we also get into detail inside of our program. Lastly is we want to notify our intakers, our team members, okay, that the lead came in. Hopefully this is not you. For those people, we want to notify them. So there's different ways to notify them. The ideal way is to notify them instead of Slack. So notify team members instead of Slack using Slack, or you can notify them via text using SMS by Zapier, which is a free service by Zapier, or you can also use Open for this, or you could also email the lead. It's not ideal, but you could email your intaker every time the lead comes in. Ideally, what I like text or Slack. At least one way to notify. Again, it builds that urgency. The lead just came in, go, call them right away. These days, tools should have a Zapier integration. If they don't, it's a big red flag, and I would stay away from those. All these tools, again, helps you automate it and helps you scale up. So if you don't have the right tools, then it's going to be limited. So ideally, our program will kind of expose you what those tools are to get set up correctly. So let's finally go to Zapier. Once you're on this page, feel free to bookmark this. This is hopefully be one of your main pages that you're going to be visiting frequently. What you want to do, and I'm going to show you how this is done in Chrome. You take this little block and you drop it off here. And what I do is I click on edit and I just delete the name, and it has a little icon here, very simple. And once you have that bookmark, go ahead and click on create Zap. Welcome to your first Zap. It's really exciting because it's about to open up a whole new world. All right, so let's pick one that I think a lot of people could be relevant for a lot of people. I think Calendly or meetings is one that a lot of people have. So let's do that. So what we want to do, click here. Sorry to repeat myself. I'm just doing it to make sure everybody is on the same page. We have triggers and actions. Trigger is when this happens. So whenever we get a Calendly meeting, okay, if you have a Calendly account or scheduling software, then it probably makes most sense to do that. Select that. If not, then go, one of the easy ones you could possibly do. And now for the rest of you, yeah, because it's a little bit more technical, so I don't want to get into it. Let's just say there is a way to be able to collect data from emails, but I don't want to get into it now. Just for now, either select Calendly, or you could select actually another one, easy one would be like if you have a phone service or ClickFunnels account that you're collecting leads. Hopefully you have like some kind of scheduling software. That'll be the easiest one. So that's what I'm going to use right now. And the event is every time an invitee is created. Okay, triggers when an invitee schedules an event. So that's the trigger for me, as I shared with you. And again, I just realized also, if it's your first time setting up, let's just say integrating Calendly, then yeah, you do need to integrate it. Integrate an authorization just means you need to tell Zapier that, hey, it is my Calendly account. So you may be needed to do that right now. So go ahead and do that. I believe for Calendly, as long as you're logged into Calendly, your Calendly account, then it automatically just integrates it. You just have to click a couple of OKs and integrates it. Melissa says Acuity scheduling looks like it has a Zapier integration. So for you, it will be no new appointment right here. But for this, I'm just going to use select Calendly. Good, no problem. So invitee created. We're going to click continue. And it was shared. You got to select the account. So again, that was the part that I mentioned. You need to select the app, then you need to authorize it. So this is the part that you need to authorize it. Again, if you're logged into your Calendly account, it should be very straightforward. Sometimes you may have to copy and paste API codes and things like that. It usually has good instructions here for how to do that. So go ahead, select the account, click on continue. And now, very important is we need to test the trigger. We need to get the data. So when you click on test trigger, it's going to pull in the data. It's going to take the last Calendly event that was scheduled and bring that data so that we can get that data to do something with it. And there you go. Bam. This was for one of our law firms, somebody scheduled meetings that was able to pull that data. Make sure that, when you're testing it, make sure you have data. So sometimes you may need to go to that app. If you're setting up for a new app, you need to go in and kind of submit some kind of data in order to get this data through here. Okay. And once you have that, you're done with the trigger. Again, what's cool about Zapier is you only set it up once. You don't have to do this every time. It's just a one-time kind of thing that once you set it up, move on to other stuff. Okay. And if you don't see something I forgot to mention, if you don't see your app name here, that means it doesn't have a Zapier integration. That's a really big red flag that it's probably not a good app. Okay. There are some CRMs that don't have a Zapier integration, which is, it's really bad. Again, you need to be able to move data automatically. If it doesn't have that, sometimes it could be done through APIs, which is too technical. They need to have a Zapier integration. So just either notify them, or what I would do is I wouldn't wait. I would just switch over to a better CRM. All right, let's get to the action. Action is what I want it to be done. Just to keep it very simple, I'm going to show you how it's done by adding the lead to a simple Google Sheet. This is probably, again, the most common use of capturing data is to put into a Google Sheet. If you want to follow along, do the same thing for your CRM, do that. But I'm just going to use a simple Google Sheet that I've already created here. In this Google Sheet, it requires you, if you are going to be using, again, if you don't have a CRM, use a Google Sheet, make a copy for yourself. So make a copy for yourself, put into Google Drive. Now let's use this to add anytime a booking comes in, I want this to be added to either my Google Sheet, or if you want, follow along, select your CRM. So if you have Locus, then you select Locus. If you have something else, select that. What I'm going to do is, the first thing is I'm going to add it to a Google Sheet. And as I shared with you, in order to create this app, we always need to select the application. We need to select the event, basically tell it what to do. We need to select an account, and we need to select the action, tell it how to do it. So going to this, what I'm going to do is we already selected the app. The event is I want to create a spreadsheet row. and it's very linear. You're basically going down, you're just selecting options. So that's the app that I want you to use. And again, if you haven't integrated Google Sheets with Zapier, probably it'll require you to log into your Google Sheet account, to your Google account, for you to be integrated for the first time. Actually, it will probably do that in the next step. But one of the event is create spreadsheet row. I'm gonna click on continue. Next is we need to select an account. Again, if you don't, I've never set this up before, go ahead and click add new account. As long as you're logged into your Google Drive or Google account, then you should be able to authenticate Google Sheet with it. Next is the action. Action is, hey, inside my Google Drive account. So I select my Google Drive. The spreadsheet is the name of the spreadsheet that you want to add the leads to. So for me, it's called lead tracking example. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to search for lead tracking example. As you can see here, things are searchable. So it'll just say you have different Google Sheets, they have different email addresses, whatever it is, you just search for that name. So for me, this sheet, I want to add it to this sheet that I should share with you, like a template of it. I had named it lead tracking example. So I'm going to select that as the spreadsheet. Yeah, if it's asking for a Calendly API, so Zapier Calendly. Zapier gives you like a little instructions right here for like where to grab, how to integrate it with that. So I'm gonna be able to either do that, or it should give you the instructions there. It'll tell you like to click here to get the Calendly API, or you may have to go into a Calendly account, go to integrations. You go to Calendly, and you go under integrations right here. Then you will select Zapier. And go to kind of set it up, integrate it that way. That's another way. Each one, again, has its own particular way. As long as you just put into YouTube or Google, you'll be able to kind of find it. Or actually, the easiest thing is usually it has the instructions are here. Okay, so just moving forward. The drive is my Google Drive. The spreadsheet is called lead tracking example. And the worksheet is just a tab. This tab is called leads. So I'm going to say, hey, add this lead to this sheet under this tab. And now it's automatically going to populate, going to bring all the headings that I have in the Google Sheet. So what that means is when you create your Google Sheet, you have to create pretty much all the headings that you want in the first row. So for my leads, they all look the same. All my lead sheets, all of these that you see right here, all of these, they all look literally exactly like this. Same color scheme, everything. It's always the date when the lead came in, first name, last name, email, phone number, source, and whether I ask qualifying questions. What kind of problem do you have? Let's just say, for example, was this within the last 2 years, for example, and are you ready to move forward? Something like that. And then also, if I use the Google Sheet to keep track of the lead, I usually have these two columns called lead status and lead notes. The first one is just the status of a lead. So I can explain more in detail inside of our program. Each lead is either marked as not qualified, good lead, retain or send, retain, client dropped, future case, pending settlement, settled, settlement received. And there's leads notes, which is the date, who contacted the lead, and what happened, all tracked in here inside of a Google Sheet. This is how pretty much every single one of these lead sheets are set up on the same system. But for the sake of this training, all I did is I created those headings. Now going back, now what I'm going to do, and this is where Zapier becomes Zapier, is I want to map, it's called mapping, this information that came from Calendly. I want you to map it to this column in Google Sheet. So under the date column, there should be some data about when the call was booked. So usually it's based on the name. If you search for the name, time, date, you'll to find from Calendly, it has different kinds of data. It has the data of like when the event is starting, when it's ending, the different time zone. There's different data that Calendly gives you every time somebody's scheduled. So what I do is I select the event start time. I'm going to keep track of when I had that scheduled meeting. Next thing I do is I add the first name and last name in the Google Sheet. If you have Lawmatics or other things, you basically just take this, what I'm setting up right now in Google Sheets, you're selecting Lawmatics and you're selecting the right account, you're setting the right action, and you're following along so that every time you collect a lead, you should be able to add that to Lawmatics. I'm just kind of, again, showing one example of it. For this first name right here, as you can see, if I search for name, it gives me the full name. Just know that Zapier also has ways to be able to kind of play around with the text. I could like split the text into first name and last name. I could capitalize things. I could change the format of time. I could change the different formattings of phone numbers. There's different things that could be done here. If I create like a step right before, there's like, I could format things. I could do different things. Again, I could show a lot, but I want to keep it relatively simple for you guys. But for now, I'm going to put the full name here under this first name kind of Google Sheet.
Hey, hope you're enjoying the video so far. If you're a lawyer and you're looking to work smart, scale fast, and enjoy life, right below this video, you'll find a link to book a call to speak to my team so we can tell you how we've been able to help over 500 law firm owners scale their law firm. Now back to the video.
Again, just try to understand basically what's being done, and then later on be able to kind of optimize it. Under email address, well, I want the invitee's email address and their phone number. Let's see if we capture that here. It looks like, I'm not sure. Looks like for this Calendly, we don't ask for their phone number. That's fine. Source is, you could say, hey, this came from a Calendly meeting. So you could actually make custom stuff in there. You don't just have to collect the data from Calendly. You just actually put in the actual data, put in the actual text yourself. So Calendly meeting. And then qualifying questions could be like the information that you collect from Calendly. So let's just say, ask, what are you looking to discuss in our call? So that one, I could map it to that. And I'm gonna keep it very simple. I'll just leave it as so. Essentially, the big picture for you guys is you're just mapping the data to one of the fields in the app that you're sending data to. I'm gonna keep it simple. I'm gonna skip over these, but let me just explain. Sometimes also, I wanna keep track of, let's just say if I collect these leads from Facebook, I wanna also, let's say if I use Facebook lead formats, I could collect that data. Say this particular lead came from this campaign, came from this ad set, came from this ad. And then when I get a lot of those leads and I get signups from that, then I could go evaluate, okay, well, most of these clients came from this campaign, this ad set, or this ad, create pivot tables, figure out my cost per lead, cost per qualified lead, cost per booking based on that different ad sets and ads, and figure out which campaign, ad set, and ad is bringing me in the most clients. Again, there's a lot, it can get really intricate, but for now, we'll just keep it as so. But what I'm gonna do, last thing is, as you saw, select application, select event, select account, and we selected the action. Last thing is to test, give that data. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna test action, and you will see magic, bam, you're able to test, and you see that this data came in automatically. The date, the name, the email address, the phone number, the source, and any kind of question that I asked in Calendly, it's all there for me. But at the very least, first thing, check, we're able to add this to our CRM. For the sake of simplicity, I just added to a Google Sheet. The second thing we want to do, to share with you, is we want to send an automated text to the lead. Okay, there's different phone services. One that I mentioned is OpenPhone. There's RingCentral. There's a lot of alternatives, but you need to have at least one phone service. Again, ideally, it shouldn't be you. There should be a dedicated intaker whose only job is to sign up clients for you. You should sign up for an OpenPhone account for them, and they should use that to be able to, not only does it send automated text, but they use that to make the phone calls. It keeps track of it all there for them. Be able to kind of listen to the recordings, that's reports, if they're making calls. This kind of really goes into like building an intake team, which is necessary. So I'm just going to show you how it's done, how I automate text messages. Again, this could be done, as I mentioned, with RingCentral, or if you have a phone service, check it out. Google Voice unfortunately doesn't have integration, so that's not really sustainable. I got my initial work phone number on Google Voice, but I realized this early on, like 6 years ago, that it's not scalable. You can't set up automation, so I pretty much ditched it. So again, we want to be on the right tools. So let's just use OpenPhone. Now it's my second time doing it. I'm going to go through it a little bit faster. I chose the app, and the event is, but actually what needs to be done is for some of these tools is I want to not just send a message, but I also want to give the data of who they are, who that lead is inside the software, so that when your intaker is calling up the lead, they could see who their name is, where they're coming from, or if there's any information that you collect. So what I need to do is first create or update a contact. So that's the event. Next, once we created basically the app and what we want to be done, the account is, what I'm going to do, I'm going to select my, actually, let's use this one, OpenPhone account. I'm going to click on continue. Again, if you haven't integrated before, then probably will take you a minute. Every app has its own way of integrating with it. And now it's the action. Action is, again, tell it what to map. Okay, well, I have the name of the lead. Now I search for it. I put that there. And again, there's better ways to be able to do this. What I would do, now I could actually, let me just quickly show it. I'm not going to explain it too much. I'll just run it by it. What I'm going to do is I'm going to create a format. Let me actually put this up. I'm going to show you how this formatting kind of thingy works. So the action is format, and the event is, it's going to be text that I want to format. I'm going to transform that. What I want it to be done is I want it to split the text. And what I want to split is the name. And the separator is basically just if there's a space by default. Is, again, there's sometimes explanations here that will explain it. That's how it knows differentiates between the first word and the second word. And I basically want the first word. I'm going to click continue. I'm going to test action, and it should say Julio. Julio. There we go. Now I got his first name. So this is the first name. This is like kind of me get first name. Here now, when it comes to this first name, instead of selecting it from Calendly, I'm going to select that output that I got that data. So now I can put the first name there. If I want to set up get the last name, I would set up another one of these formatting, get the second word, get the last name, and then put that here. That's how that's done. The phone number for this one wasn't captured. For now, I'll just put whatever. I'm just going to put this thingy here. For email address, that was captured, let's just say from email address right here. And then these were specific fields that I created in OpenPhone. So again, depending on what kind of data I'm collecting on the front end, let's just say for this, I'm collecting whether people are lawyers, what the problem is, and how soon we should reach out, etc. So that's all mapped here. And what I'm gonna do, click on continue. And I'm gonna test the action. And once I test it, usually it takes about 10 seconds. And basically it will give you a little green check mark that, yeah, the data went correctly mapped. And if I go into OpenPhone account, I will see that this contact was created. So that's success. The important part for you is just knowing how to set up one of these. Once you know how to set up one of these, again, you can come back later today, or right now, if ideally we can do it, to kind of set up all the different apps that you need. And basically one needs to get done. Sometimes you may need to go to the app and integrate it and do that. But once you do that once, then it will be a lot more straightforward. The next thing I'm going to do, for OpenPhone, not only do I want to create the contact, but I also want to send a text. So again, I'm going to select OpenPhone again. The event this time is to send a message. Click on continue. Select for this account. And I want it to come from which phone number? We have different phone numbers. So let's just say we want it to come from this appointment setter. And the phone number that I wanted to text is, unfortunately for this, we didn't capture a phone number for this particular meeting. But basically that's where if I had a phone number that I would capture here, then I would put the phone number here. Okay, it's gonna text that phone number. And the message, as I shared with you, the best message is this. Here you go. I'm gonna take this, get rid of the quotes. And what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna map. Hi, first name. This is Sam from Mollei Law. When is a good time to talk about your work issue? Bam. I would put my phone number in here and run it by test, but I don't want that phone number to be, revealed publicly. But, once I set this up, let me just put a random phone number. Click on continue. Now run a test action. And yeah, looks like the phone number is not a valid phone number, so give an error. But once that's a correct phone number, basically it will send a text. And that's what's being done. From this phone number, send a text to the lead's phone number. And this is the text that I want to be sent out right away. Simply by just setting up this automated text, you're able to send up at least 15% of more of your leads just by the simple text, possibly even more. but this is a must. Again, if you don't have this already set up. And if need be, you may need to open up a OpenPhone account. Yes or no questions always get the best responses. Okay? Always ask a yes or no question. And if I really wanted to optimize even further, I would either test this out or say, hi, this is Sam from Mollei Law. Are you having work issue? Something like that. And ideally binary questions. Again, it requires experimentation, it requires knowing your target audience is, kind of testing things out. But this is ideal. Yes or no questions or binary questions. That's ideal. Never or very rarely do you ever want to just send a text with a link to say, go do this. It doesn't work. You may get lucky, maybe 1 out of 15, 1 out of 20 will do that, but ideally not. Here, I will create another one. I'll create it for the last name. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna create an action. The action is called format. And the event is I want to format text. Sometimes you can also format phone numbers. If I wanted the phone number to be a little bit more, easy to read. But for this, it's gonna be the text. The action is a split. Want to split the text, and you can see there's like different things you could do. You could capitalize things, do a lot. You could extract phone numbers, patterns, URLs. There's a lot of different things you could do. For this, we'll just split it. The input is we want to split up the name. The separator, this I'm going to leave blank because by default it says here it's a space. And the segment index is I want the last word. Last word is the last name essentially. So when I test action, this will shoot me Kakares. There we go. That now gave me the last name. Now I could rename it and say get last name. So now if I really want to optimize this, when I go to creating a contact in OpenPhone, I could put the last name like that. Bam. And also maybe for the Google Sheet, I can maybe optimize it, and for the last name, again for the first name, I could just get this instead, and last name, get that. Cool. All right, so we add it to our CRM. We send them a text. What about email? Email, ideally, as I shared with you, active campaign is ideal. Okay, that's most ideal. But just for the sake of simplicity, I'm just going to use a simple Gmail account. Just send an email coming from your Gmail account. This works wonders. Just a simple email coming directly from you. A very short text, a short email that says, hey, I understand you have this issue. Again, when it's a good time for us to talk, or ask a binary question. Just invoke that response, and from that, get them scheduled for a call. Basically, that's the kind of game plan. You don't want to just send them a link. They go here to schedule a call. Maybe again, 1 out of 15, 1 out of 20 may do that, but ideally, you want to start the conversation first. Get that interest, get that commitment, then get them scheduled for a call. So for this, we want to send a email. So the action is Gmail. The event is, there's a lot of different things you could do to automate this. You can see, you could add labels. What we want to do is to send an email. And I also want to share some cool stuff at the end about personal zaps and things like that. There's a lot of cool stuff that could be done. So let me share that with you as well. But let me just try to finish this. So I want to send an email again with which account. So I'm going to use this account. If you haven't integrated before, if you logged into your Gmail, then it should be relatively easy. Click on 2 Ks and it should be able to integrate quickly. Click continue. Now I want to send an email to, again, I'm mapping it. It's the same thing over and over. Send to that email address coming from my email address. The from name is just say coming from my name. Don't put your law firm name, just put your full name there. Subject line will be what I would do is I would put their first name, question mark. That's a very good optimized subject line. That will definitely get opened, or at least more likely to be opened. So I'm gonna say, hi, Julio. This is Sam Mollaei from Mollei Law. Very simple. You can add signatures here. You can add label, automatically label them. You can add attachments here if need be. Make it being very simple. I'm going to click on continue, and I'm going to test the action. And now they will receive an email from me going forward. Again, being very simple, ideally, and I'll quickly show how it's done in ActiveCampaign also quickly right now. But simple, as soon as they come in, they'll be receiving an email. If you want to keep it very simple, you can also say, it's a delay. You say delay. You set up a delay for 1 day. So 1 day later. Now I could create a space in here and say go, and then the next action will be to go send a second email. If I want to, again, keep it just very simple, without using the ActiveCampaign, that's how that could be done. It's not ideal. Ideally, what you want to do is ActiveCampaign. What's the average cost if you don't set up these programs, phone numbers, and CRMs? And the cost of that is literally into hundreds of thousands of dollars. So all of these, the cost is nothing compared to the value that you get from setting these up correctly. So always, again, something that requires a little bit more conversation, mindset shift, and something we help our lawyers with. Focus on what's the value of things. What's in it for me? What's the value of these tools? Once you kind of think that way and you start with the end in mind, then that's when growth happens, because now you're not limiting yourself to the cost. You're limiting yourself by the potential that you could be if the cost was not a factor. And once you set it up, if you set it up and you have good guidance and you set up correctly, the value is minimum like 10, 20, 30x. So yeah, there's also something that not many people talk about is opportunity cost. A lot of people just know, or they can't set it up and they just wait. That time that you don't set up is costing money. Every day that you're not, setting these things up and you're not taking on more clients is money you could have been making during that time. And a lot of people don't have that urgency behind these things. And again, it's one of the things, again, we drive it in, these ideas. What's in it for me? What's the value? The urgency behind it. These are all little things that we chip away in a personal development to get you in the right mindset. And I could attest to it because people come on the back end. You're like, wow, I didn't think that was possible. But it's these changing belief systems really makes a big impact in your growth. Now, again, these are all things I have to go through myself. I would ask the same questions from my mentor. So I would go back, he would tell me to do something and I would go back and be like, this costs $30, is it worth it? And he'd come giving me this advice and I would come do it again. How about this one for $100? This is $100 a month. And you're like, Sam, it's worth it if you set it up and, do it. So, after the third, fourth time, I stopped asking him. And from that, I grew and I now give the same advice. And the people that, that follow through have the same growth. So, hopefully able to kind of inspire you to, give yourself a chance. Don't focus on that, kind of focus on the big picture. The last thing quickly, I want to show, again, I want to try to get through it, is if I want to notify people, is I use ideally Slack. Slack, which is the internal communication tool. What I want to do is send a channel message. The Slack account, let's just say inside my Legal Academy Slack account, the channel, let's just say every time that we get a lead instead of general, you know what, I'll send in general. General is the Slack that everybody's in. New test coming from the Zapier training. Send as a bot, yes. This one will just say the bot name will be Zapier. Bot icon, you could add a cool little icon here. I don't want to do that yet. We don't need a link, blah, blah. I'm gonna just pass through these. And what I'm gonna do, you will see, these are little Slack for our little community. Actually, we're trying to figure out what to do with the Slack for our members, but you will see, there we go. New test coming from Zapier training. I could potentially say, hey, new lead, and then I could basically put the lead information, basically say, hey, here's the phone, the name, their phone number, email address. Go contact this lead right away. So that's how that's done. You create an organization. Again, it's all about growth. So we create an organization out of a law firm. We have our intake team. We have our client onboarding team. We have our legal team. They all have their own Slack channels, and each one has their own automations that when this happens, notify them so they could do this and things are get done for them. So that's the Slack part, the notification part. But the big picture is, let me just go through it. When this Calendly meeting comes in, first thing, we format, we get the first name, we get the last name, we add it to our CRM, which is our Google Sheets, just for simplicity reasons. We send a text, we create a contact in OpenPhone. We send an automated text with OpenPhone. We send an email with Gmail for the sake of simplicity, and we notify our intake team. These things have to be done every time a new lead comes in. It gets stored somewhere, emails, texts, notifications coming in. And that's what it takes. You're building a system out of new leads coming in. You set this up, your lead conversions are gonna blow up. And it's, again, like the emails could be better. Like you could send a series of like 10 emails that day, the next day. All those things really make a huge difference. So for all the lead generation that I do, they all have one of these set up. They all have all these things set up. Every single one of these is different law firms, and they all have some form of this. Let me just quickly like show one of them. Let's say this. DocuSign, being signed. Different lead sources from Facebook, from YouTube, from this, different intakes being filled out, different things from TikTok coming in. It's all leading to the same source. It's all being keep track there. We use Google Sheets to be able to keep track of the leads. We use a phone service like OpenPhone. The one that we use for one of the law firms called Allaware. We use that. They receive automated emails and they get notifications. All the same thing.